Hey guys, welcome into another episode of 410 Sports Talk. My name is James Haskell, here with my co-host Glenn Martin on this gloomy Tuesday morning. We all get our humble pie, and the Ravens for sure got multiple pies yesterday evening. The Brinks truck of pies.
It was tough, man. Usually we're used to being on the other end of this one.
Jeez,
it was tough to take a butt whooping, and clearly Andy Reid, he came to the bank. He met John Harbaugh at midfield. He pulled his pants down. He spanked his bare bottom in front of everybody.
Oh man, 34-20 was the final score. We're here to recap the game, talk about what went wrong, if anything went right, give you some stats, some insight, and where the Ravens go from here moving on. So I think the best thing to do, Glenn, would be to start with some statistics. I think it's only fair that we start with the winning team on this one. I'm just gonna say that if I would have had $1 for every time something cool or positive was said about Patrick Mahomes last night, I might be as rich as him. But Patrick Mahomes, just to add to the piggy bank, was 31 of 42 attempts, 385 yards, 4 touchdowns. That, if I'm not mistaken, that was 4 passing touchdowns and a rushing touchdown. Had a Lamar-like performance. Had a
Pat Mahomes-like performance.
Yeah. Had either way, a ridiculous game.
Unreal, man. Unreal. And not just through the air. Also had, the one on the ground. And he was big in on the ground in big moments too. A lot of conversions with his legs, obviously the touchdown, but then a big 3rd and long at a crucial point in the game. So he was good. I mean, they put up over 500 yards of total offense, which is it's insane. I mean, we talk about the number 1 scoring defense coming into this game. You thought that they'd have some answers, but it didn't look like it. So moving on to a couple other guys, Clyde Solaire ends up with 20 carries for 64 yards. So they were able to kind of rein him in and keep him under wraps. But then getting in the passing game, Kelsey had 6 for 87. McCole Hardman had 4 for 81 and a touchdown. Tyreek Hill had 5 for 77 and a touchdown. And then Hilaire, he got it going in the air. He had 5 catches for 70 yards. And then Sammy Watkins, a guy that we weren't sure was going to play, is when the concussion protocol, dealing with some head and neck issues. He ends up playing, gets 7 catches for 62 yards and leads the team in targets with 8. So offensively, they were damn near perfect. It was, outside of that fumble.
For Eric Fisher got a touchdown, for goodness gracious. Look, if I would have been in that game, I would have had 5 targets, 50 yards, and a TD.
Yeah. It was pretty.
They were handing them out. They were like Oprah out there.
Yeah, you get a touchdown.
Jeez.
It was tough. Well, let's get into at least got to give some of the Ravens stats. Tough day for the Ravens offense. Lamar did not have his best game. He went 15 of 28 in the air for 97 yards. He did have the touchdown to Boyle, no interceptions. And then on the ground, he had 9 carries for 83 yards, averaging 9.2 a carry. And your boy Gus, man, he was a shining light and didn't get a lot of run, but when he did, he certainly took advantage of it. Had 4 carries for 39 yards, averaging just under 10 a carry. So what were your, I guess, what are your reactions from the offense?
Yeah, I think I have a couple takeaways. One, shame on Greg Roman. There's just no other way to put it. Shame on Greg Roman on a couple fronts. One, too cute. Too cute. If I'm not mistaken, our first time getting the ball in the second half, we run a screen that gets blown up, the screen to Mark Ingram. That's our one of our best shots in the second half of this game to get some momentum, get rolling. And look, get an easy 4. There's nothing wrong with an easy 4. I don't get it, right? Like, hand the ball off and do what we do best. There were too many times where we just got cute. We got too cute, and we overcomplicated things. The other thing I want to say, and I want to get your thoughts too, is it to our detriment at this point? And look, it's week 3. So there's still some tinkering to be done. Tinkering, saying it lightly. I think it's more than tinkering, right? We need to open up the hood and really do some rethinking here. But the fact that we have 3 quality backs, is it doing more damage than it is good? Because none of them have a chance to get the reps. Like you said, I mean, look, Lamar led the team in carries. Gus had 4 carries. Ingram had 7 carries, and Dobbins had 1. To me, that's not a recipe to win. None of them had double digits. All of these backs, whether JK in college or, of course, Mark and Gus in the league, are guys that get going with reps, right? They need a little bit of time to get a chance to get out there, get their feet wet, crack the pads a little bit, wear down the defense. None of that happened. I mean, like you said, Gus was a shining light, a little bit of something positive to talk about. He got 4 cracks at it.
Yeah.
And that's it. So what's your take on that? Are you a little concerned about the fact that we don't give a guy an opportunity to get rolling?
It can be a little bit frustrating. I'm sure it's frustrating for the players. But you got to, it can be hard when they're not getting the calls. I mean, when they're not getting called runs. When I look at big moments in this game, I look at the first drive. They ran the ball all the way down the field, had big runs all the way down the field. And then when they get into the red zone, it's a pass to Duvernay for 7 yards, then an incomplete pass, and then a pass for no gain to Willie Snead and kick the field goal. It was too many times when in big moments, they would go right back to the pass. And now, people can say, well, yeah, but if they hit those passes, then maybe you're singing a different tune. But it was clear that this game, they were going to get up on the receivers' faces, be super physical. That L'Jarius Sneed was so physical with Hollywood Brown, not trying to let
him out of the game.
Yeah, not trying to let him get them going. They were pressing and they were bringing the noise. I mean, it's frustrating that they didn't stick to the game plan. Once again, we talked about the frustration in that Titans game in the playoffs. All the fans are screaming, please run the ball. And the coaches said, well, it got out of hand too quick. They weren't. Well, this wasn't the case. They were within striking distance in a lot of situations and they went empty. I know there was a huge pivotal drive in the second half to start. I know you remember where they got the tripping call on I think it was Boyle.
Yeah, Nick Boyle.
When it was a terrible call. Clearly had the guy blocked. The trip was inconsequential. It was ridiculous, but that put him to 1st and 20. And then they went empty backfield. 3 straight plays. They go absolutely nowhere and they punt. I don't like the willingness to give up on the run at the drop of a hat. It seems like as soon as there's any negative play or if they get slightly behind the chains, there goes the running game out the window, despite the fact it's clearly our bread and butter.
It's a lack of conviction. It's a lack of conviction in what you believe.
Yeah, and it's frustrating because we were one of the teams that would run it on, 3rd and long. Like and now you you go empty. You don't even give the illusion of a possible run. You take that out. I mean, Lamar could run, but you take away. I don't like going empty backfield, and it seems like Greg Roman loves to do it. And then I know that there's been times where Lamar has had success gaining yards in an empty backfield, but I don't know if he's had much success getting touchdowns. I mean, we saw him put up 500 yards of offense against the Titans, doing a lot of empty backfield, but not a lot of scoring points. So I just not a fan of the empty backfield set. I like giving the illusion of a run, keeping a running back there. It frustrated me. It was one of the notes I had down, so I had to bring it up.
Yeah, and I just want to pile on here, and I know that we've given a lot of compliments to Wink and to Greg Martin or Greg Martin, but I have a couple concerns. One, every time we've lost, the big losses, it's been in the same way. Even if you go back to the first playoff loss to the Chargers, I feel like it was in the same way. This game, same way. The last playoff loss to the Titans, I feel it was all the same way. You were talking about it, and everyone puts it on Lamar. Last night, I've decided that you can blame Lamar. He didn't have a great game. That's fine. You all you haters can pile on and say he'll never win, and he's a stats guy and whatever. That's fine. I mean, he'll prove you wrong. I still have faith in that, but Greg Roman didn't leave his quarterback unprepared for all didn't leave him prepared for all the coach speak of this is just another game. This is week 3. Obviously, this game meant something to Greg Roman. Obviously, he was psyched out. Obviously, he was lacking faith in their scheme as an offense because like you said, we didn't run it.
Yeah.
Like we didn't do what we do. So that only means that Greg said, this isn't going to work. We need to change this. And that's what he did. And it concerns me because this is the third time that we've seen this with all the lights on, where he said, no, this isn't going to work. We need to change it. So I don't know.
Yeah, and what bothers me is after the game, Lamar was asked about what the defense did that was so effective. And he said that they did the same thing that the Titans did. And that really worries me because you mean to tell me that, every team in crucial games isn't going to copy this game plan and instill it. And if Greg Roman can't beat it, he's shown he can't beat it 2 times. That's a big problem. That's most certainly the exact game plan the Ravens will be facing in every pivotal game. Certainly the teams that have the personnel to effectively implement this game plan is going to be a problem. I mean,
do you think that, how John, he's great. His coordinators love him. I think part of the reason why the coordinators love him is because he's hands off. He gives them ownership of their sphere, lets them run the ship. And that's fine. I believe in that method. But I also think that oversight is okay, right? Mm-hmm. Because when you're in on a project, getting somebody else's view that's a little bit further away from it, just like all of us have been painting a room before and you come in and someone walks in and they're like, oh, you missed that. It's frustrating. But it's needed. So like sometimes I wonder, and I'm sure this is happening, I just don't know to what extent. How much is John saying, hey, Greg, it's happening again. Hey, Greg, like, let's not go down this road again. Hey, Greg, like,
he did seem to do that, to give fairness to John.
Right.
In the second half, they went back to committing to the run. Mm-hmm. But at that point, it was, we
were down by 17.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand why at that point game circumstance can kind of, but I will say this, they cut it to 7 and then they had that huge drive where it was 27-20 and they had 3rd and long and they had an opportunity to get off the field. And that was one of the most frustrating plays because I'm sure you remember, but it was 3rd and long and on that play, Judon runs a stunt from the outside, and he runs right up the middle, right when the ball is snapped. And then Derek Wolfe behind him runs a similar slant right behind him up the middle, and they both completely vacate the left side of the defensive line. And Pat Mahomes, of course, we're a man, so there's nobody watching the quarterback, and he just easily scrambles for the first down. It was so frustrating. We're kind of bouncing back and forth from offense to defense, and it's just because we're
emotional
about the game. Yeah, we're fired up.
Yeah.
It seemed like every time we were in man, which is what we do. That's what's frustrating. What we do on defense is we play man coverage and we come after you. Well, the problem with that in this game is that Andy Reid called the most beautiful man beating game that I've seen. I mean, he's running crossing routes everywhere. He's running the most creative screens I've ever seen. He's running fake jet sweeps, fake reverses, and then setting up screens to the running back. He set up a incredible shovel pass to the damn fullback. Yeah. And that's what's daunting what seems daunting is that the Chiefs, unfortunately, have a incredible combination of talent and then coaching that fits that talent and knows how to use that so incredibly perfectly. It's as good as Pat Mahomes was, which he was incredible. I mean, the way he manipulated the pass rushers to buy more time, using pump fakes, using just his athletic ability, he was absolutely incredible. But then when you look around him, he's surrounded by speed absolutely everywhere. Travis Kelce, who is a dancing polar bear, incredible. And then Andy Reid's play design is so good, it drives you crazy as a fan because you don't want to. It just looks like such an uphill climb. And that's what's frustrating as a Ravens fan, because we know that there's no way you're getting to the Super Bowl unless you beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And right now, it doesn't look good for the Ravens.
Yeah, I told you this before the show started. I've never, ever in the history of 410 Sports Talk picked us to lose. Never. I've never done it.
Well, we've been pretty good too. Yeah.
Yeah. But I've never done it. And if we play the Chiefs again, I will do it. I can't in good conscience keep my sanity and pick us to win. But this is the problem. I understand and I agree with everything you're saying. This is why it still comes back to Roman to me. All of those things are mitigated. I'm not saying they're eliminated, but they're mitigated if we can keep their offense off the field. I know it's boring to a lot of people. I know it's not fun, but in those big games, I want 35 in the game. I know I love Gus Edwards, and I am partial to Gus, but the combination of him and Lamar when it comes to controlling the clock might be the best in the league. Might be.
Yeah.
Now, they didn't show that last night, but there were moments.
Mm-hmm.
And like you talked about on that scoring drive, obviously Gus was a shining light, but I think that we need more of it. I don't know. I still don't know what goes wrong in their heads. And, you know, I don't know. I think at this point, Gus has eclipsed Mark Ingram as our
best
I
back.
just think right now he's a better back. He's just, it's undeniable. How much tape can you watch and not say this guy needs the ball?
He just might
more?
be, I don't even know if you call him he's not the best overall back, but I think we can start to decide he might be the best fit for us, and he might be the best running back for us, and he might not be the best running back, but for us, he might be.
Like as an individual part, like you're saying, you know, if an individual player, he might not be the best. Well, exactly. It's the you just talked about. It's the perfect combination of all these things in Kansas City. Okay, well, we might have some combinations that we're not utilizing. That was frustrating to me. I just want to add to that play too. Easier said than done, but when Judon runs up the middle like that, one of the things he has to know that he's vacating some of that space, and he has to know that he's got to keep his feet. He can't fall over. Yeah. You can't just rush the middle and then fall, dude. You can't just fall over. When I saw him fall, I was like, dude,
Judon. I'm so frustrated with Judon. He got another bad penalty, another costly penalty where some people. You know, I had a few people over the house, and they say, "Well, he jumped that. He got it perfectly. He was early. He was a little early. Bowser, nailed it really perfectly. I thought Bowser had a pretty good game. He was this close so many times, man. Pat Mahomes made phenomenal plays, but Judon, no. I mean, if he keeps playing this way, no chance he's in Baltimore next year. He has done more bad than good. He's picked up now 2 horrible penalties, the first of which was just ridiculous. It was like 3-second late hit. I am so disappointed in Judon. I thought this would be a big year for him with all the additional talent that they brought in. And
it's a contract year, all these big things going on. Now, look, he could turn it around, but it doesn't look that way to me.
He looks horrible. I mean, I'm looking – obviously, the impactful player, Bowser played well, I thought, up front, although he just seemed to be a split second late. But Calais Campbell was making play after play. He was in the passing game, getting up there. I thought Brandon Williams played phenomenal over the middle, stuffing up the middle. He was playing really well.
Man, he was moving guys. I've never seen Brandon move guys that violently before.
Oh, yeah, he wanted to play well, and he did. He dominated the interior of their offensive line, But yeah, I mean, Matt Judon gives you 1 solo tackle and 2 assisted tackles.
And guess what? He made $1 million in that game.
Oh, yeah, he does. He makes 16. Yeah. So, yeah, $1 million a game.
Now, I want to go back to one thing, though, if you don't mind. I want to try and do a little bit of positivity here. So let's go back to not that you're not positive. I'm struggling with being positive today, folks. So reel me in. You can slam me in the comments, whatever you got to do, but help me out here. But Duvernay. With the kick return and at a pivotal moment, man, I'm excited to see this kid more. Talk about hot oil in a cast iron pan. He took off. I mean, one cut. It's funny because we had David Robinson, of course, always open the heralded wide receiver coach on the show, and he talked about Prochet being a one cut and go guy. And Duvernay looks like a one cut and
get out of there. Yeah.
My gosh.
Yeah.
You think he's ever getting any returnable balls the rest of this year?
Oh man, if they're smart, they better not. But I think he will, just because of the lack of kicking talent around the league. That's the funny thing. We did win one phase of this game. We beat the crap out of them on special teams. I mean, I know that it doesn't make a lot, but they missed. You know, let's be honest, this could have been a worse beatdown. They missed a field goal. They missed an extra point. And a lot of people last week were calling Butker to challenge Justin
the Mariano Rivera, Tony Romo. Get out of here.
Yeah, they were saying he might be certainly might be the second best. I don't know if they were saying first, which is nonsense. I mean,
it's nonsensical.
You know, he's made what now 66 consecutive field goals under 40 yards. I mean, that is just absolutely stupid for Justin Tucker. He's incredible. And he was he certainly didn't disappoint last night.
Yeah, what are the best at? Fundamentals, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, Butker. He beat you at the fundamentals.
Yeah, I mean, he's incredible.
I take my wins where I can get them.
Yeah, that's right. But back to Duvernay, I think what's awesome about that is that it does give us an element that we haven't had in a long time since Jacoby. And even on the one time we did force a punt from Kansas City, Prochet looked good on his return. So, wow, this power cord is really in there, huh? Yeah, so I think what's cool is that they get another element to the team that we haven't had, and it's going to make somebody have to game plan. So, happy for him. And I think that'll be an evolving as far as his influence and his contributions on the offense. He only had 2 catches, but I think that's ever evolving too. And I think we'll get more play on the offensive side as well.
Oh man. Well, I want to go through a couple other notes here. Are you concerned at this point about Mark Andrews?
I wasn't until this game. Even last game when he had a down game, he only had the one big catch.
Right.
But you kind of chalked it up to, well, maybe they were, the defense was really making an effort to take him away, and the Ravens just took what was given to them elsewhere. But this game, they clearly made an effort to get him the ball. He had eight targets, and he only turned that into 3 catches, and some of those were bad drops. I mean, that touchdown drop was huge. It hit both his hands. And he did the classic get up and feign injury, grab his calf like we've seen. I mean, how many players have dropped a ball and got up injured and then somehow are back on the field the very next
they do
drive?
One of these.
Yeah, but he had at least 4 drops. I mean, I don't have – he had 3. So he had 8 targets. He ended up with 3 catches. 4 drops, man. I mean, the one over the seam would have been a tough catch, but the defenders ended up actually hitting each other, up the seam and early on. He
had a clear path. I mean, it looked tight, but he had a clear path to catch the ball.
And it hit both his hands. And let's be honest, Pat Mahomes looked great, but his receivers made big catches, taking hits.
And they were wide open, too. I mean, there were so many times where they were just schemed open.
Well, the schemed open stuff has got to drive you crazy. But there was also times where, like the Tyreek Hill catch, incredible. The guy plays so much bigger than he is.
Yep.
So it wasn't just – it wasn't just that. It was a combination of everything. It was like great play design. There was guys running wide open, but also when they weren't open, they were making phenomenal plays, and the Ravens didn't have any of that. It was this close, that close. Oh, we almost had it a bunch of times, but nobody making that play, man. And these are pros. I don't want to see a guy, he almost had it. It was a tough grab. I understand why he dropped it. No, these are pros. These are Pro Bowl talents. I want them to make the tough grab. I want them to hold on to the ball despite the contact, man. I'm tired of this. Well, it was a tough grab. I understand why. No, this is Mark Andrews, wants to call himself one of the top. Lamar Jackson pointed Andrews said he's top 2 and he's not number 2. Okay, well then play like it, because right now Nick Boyle outplayed you.
Right,
Nick Caveman went in there and made a tough grab. He hung on to it despite the ball being slightly behind.
Yeah, it looked like Andrews.
Yeah, I thought it was when he first grabbed it. So, Mark Andrews, step up, man, in big games. I don't want to see you, it's great. Next week, you'll probably have 6 grabs and 89 yards and a touchdown against the Washington football team. But in big moments, in big games, we need to see the best tight end in the league if you want to claim that.
Yeah, it doesn't even count for anything if they're not even they don't have a real name.
Exactly.
Like, they don't scrimmage. Come on, man. Like, their logo is a W.
Made me frustrated, man.
So let's talk about Lamar, though. I want to spend some time here because I think a lot of people are going to spend time here. I think that, I haven't turned it on. I'm guessing that Get Out. And look, I open Bleacher. Or Get Out. Get Up. I'm going to get out of that conversation. Get Up, First Take. Stephen A. Smith is unbearable for me right now because he hates the Ravens. Of course, he's a big Pittsburgh fan. But anyway, the point is that I turned on I opened up my Bleacher Report and said Patrick Mahomes settles the debate as to who the real MVP is. So
they get
how much of that do you put on the coaching staff not preparing Lamar? And how much do you put on Lamar? The reason I'm saying that, if you noticed at the end of the third, and you and I were talking about this, I wish we had a little bit more pep in our step. I'm not talking about a full-on hurry offense, but I wish we were moving a little quicker because I knew we were going to get in the end zone. We had momentum there. Gus had ran that 24-yard run, and we were feeling good. And it looked like to me Lamar was yelling up at the booth, like,
Yeah.
hey, get the play call in. Let's go. Let's go. It seemed, unless I misinterpreted that, that's exactly.
He looked frustrated.
He was very demonstrative, right? Like very upset about what was going on and the lack of pace there. Because I think Lamar was very demonstrative and frustrated, and I think that a lot of that had to do with the play call. And I think he wanted there to be a little more pace to that. Not that it needed to be full on hurry up, but if you remember in the last game, they were talking about how at the end we made it a fight. The score made it closer than it ended up being, and this was at the point where it became a 7-point game. And I already knew. I think it became 7 points. There were a little under 6 minutes left in the game. It was too late. It was too little, too late. We don't work this way. So I don't know. Where do you stand as far as the responsibility on offense? Is it a Lamar thing? Where do you lean? Is it a Greg Roman thing? Talk to me about how you're feeling about Lamar and the responsibility of this terrible offensive performance today or yesterday.
Man, I think it's going to be a combination of all of them. The blame goes around. What hurts me is that, we've been going to bat for Lamar for a while now in this debate of Pat Mahomes versus Lamar.
Yeah, and we look dumb.
It didn't look close last night. Now, so now I guess the question is how much of that is the fault of Lamar? I think he definitely should take some blame. I think when you mentioned to me that they should be hurrying up, there was a few minutes left in the third at that point and looking like they're going to go score. So I didn't feel the need for them to hurry up. And then I think later on in the fourth, we saw what can happen when he hurries too much. I don't know if Lamar is great in those hurry up situations. We saw that towards the end in a big moment when they were moving quickly in the fourth quarter, try and put up points. He took the snap and he didn't even look down the field, dude. He immediately looked at the pass rush and how the hell he could escape. And if he would have just stood tall in the pocket, it would have formed around him. But he ran into the pass rush. And honestly, he never once even peeked at a receiver or any receiving target down the field. Not once. So it is a combination of both of them. Greg didn't help him much. And really what's disappointing about the Greg thing, as I said earlier, is just the fact that if you're telling me that they use the same defensive game plan as the Titans, that's a problem if you haven't grown since then. That was
coming, man. You had
you'd think that Greg Roman all season was studying that game, and he probably watched it 50 times to see what went wrong. And you'd hope that he had, all right, I had all off season. This game plan ain't working. I know one game plan that isn't going to work against the Ravens next year, and it's this one. And now Lamar's telling me they ran the same one and it was just as effective. That's disheartening. That's terrible. I mean, that's scary because what are you saying, Greg? Are you saying that Lamar isn't capable of running an effective game plan against that defense? Or are you just saying that you're incapable of designing a game plan to beat that defense? Because right now, I mean, that's what we can expect going forward, right?
And how weird is it that I'm going to beat this horse until it is dead. But how weird is it that you can watch that Titans game once, and if you know anything about the Ravens personnel and you know what happened with the game plan, all you got to do is pan over to the sideline and see Gus picking his nose because he's getting no clock. Yeah. And he still had he had a couple nice runs in that Titans game and a momentum changing drive, very similar to last night, where he was a large proponent. He was the catalyst in a momentum changing drive, but only once. Yeah. Like it just, all the changes that we made, we bring in Dobbins, we do these things and we look further away. And it's like, everyone says, oh, it's been under my nose the whole time. The answer, right? Like, like you said, he might not be the best back, but maybe in those scenarios where it is about, beating down the defense, breaking them down, we've got to open up the pass with the run. If we've got to stay true to that more than ever in those games, he's got to get the ball more.
Yeah. I mean, it is interesting because Gus, a lot of times in the offseason, people were saying, well, he's a redundancy, man. Maybe we should try and trade Gus. And
all those people are real quiet right now.
Yeah, I mean, he clearly has at least early on, has established himself as our best back in this system for this season for sure. Now, last year Mark looked pretty good in it, but this year he just hasn't. So yeah, I mean, I want to see it, but I want to know one other thing is, are we starting to see man, Marshall would be nice in the middle of this line. But I know he's not coming back, and there's nothing we can do. He's 100, he's 80 pounds lighter than he was, so there's no chance of him coming back in. But with all that youth in the inside of that line, I mean, I'm starting to think that this could be a developing problem. And maybe that's why we're seeing a decline in the run game, because we're used to, I mean, how many times in pretty much every big moment they ran behind Marshall and Big O? Yeah. That's not there anymore. Well,
I thought Phillips he had a tough assignment. Yeah. He had a tough assignment with Chris Jones. I thought he battled. I thought he did all right. I mean, I wasn't big on Skura's performance. Anytime, you get penalized, it's not a good thing, but wasn't big on his performance. But I can see what you're saying totally. The only bright spot I can say to that is that when you have youth like that, their rate of progression, of improvement is so much that hopefully by the end of the season, they're humming. I'm not saying that they're going to be Marshall, right? Like, he's a Hall of Famer. Yeah. But our only alternative to that
is Fluker.
Oh, our only real alternative to that is mailing, bringing in, airdropping boxes and pallets of Oreos and whole milk to Yonda's house.
Just keep sending fattening foods.
Yeah, so he comes back. I mean, that's our or Fluker like is more realistic, of course. But I thought Phillips, he battled. I mean, he got a tough assignment.
It's a lot to ask. I'm just wondering, because they had 4 sacks, including the strip. So It was obviously a problem in the game. So I'm just curious as to, what your thoughts were.
Maybe I think that they will improve. I do think that they can improve as a unit, because they are so young. You know what I mean? We haven't seen the best of these guys yet.
And all of them are young. I mean, outside of Stanley, who I'd say
he's our vet.
and he's still on his rookie deal. So
right.
You're right. In fact, in the sense that there will be, you'd expect there to be progression throughout the year, and they get better and better, and then they're at their best in playoff time if they remain healthy. So
so let's do this, Glenn. Give me a wide frame outlook. How are you feeling about the Ravens right now? Like, where?
Well, let me say this. I think that all Ravens fans will feel a lot better at the end of this next 3-game stretch, because they're going to certainly feel a whole heck of a lot better next week when they take on the Washington football team. Because
I feel bad for them, because we're about to come out there and open up a case.
Yeah, it's gonna be bad, and but it's the same thing we talked about before the season started, and now that this is amplified, it's the frustration that none of what they do until January is going to matter. I mean, none of this, because now they're saying, but they can't beat the Chiefs. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, they won all these games. Even if we run the table, win the rest of these games. Yeah, but they can't beat the Chiefs. So really, it's great. I mean, they still have to do their thing. They got to get into the playoffs. But unfortunately, we know they can win regular season games. We know this team can do that. But we don't know, and they still have not shown that they can beat the freaking Chiefs. And I worry that, we listened to one of my favorite analysts in basketball is, of course, Charles Barkley. He's a Hall of Fame player, incredible player, but he came around at the wrong freaking time. And I just hope that we're not seeing the same with Lamar. Barkley came around with Jordan, and Jordan beat his ass, and he could not ever win a championship because he just came along at the wrong freaking time. And I just really hope that we're not seeing that Lamar can beat every other team, and the Ravens can beat every other team, but they just can't beat that one freaking team, that one guy, that one coach and quarterback combination that seems just such a daunting task. That's what worries me. I don't even like saying, but is Mahomes the Jordan, and is Lamar, a Barkley? That right now, it worries me that's certainly going to be the narrative. I don't think we disagree there. That's going to be the narrative that we're going to hear if you turn on Get Up, if you turn on any of these first takes. That's what worries me, that he can't. We're not going to be able to silence that now until the playoffs. And then, how confident are you going into that game?
Yeah, I mean, like there will be history made on 410 Sports Talk when we play the Chiefs, because I'm going to pick us to lose. Yeah. I hate it, dude. I hate it to my core. Like, it is a big part of me, but I can't. But this is man. I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna drive this home. I'm nervous about Lamar and the psyche of this, but I don't know. It's so weird to me, because I think at the end of the day, the answer is so simple. Like if you remember Lamar's first 7-game run, everyone was talking about how we dominated time of possession, all these things, all the things that turn Lamar into Lamar Jackson, right? Like, he was so unique. The offense was so unique. Like you said, we've tinkered too much and we're starting to mimic and not be unique anymore, like to the same extent where those things aren't happening. They dominated time of possession last night. Like, we never had the ball, 3 and outs and things like that. I'm not saying we need to go back to Lamar's first year, right? Like, where he was throwing ducks at the ground and things like that. But my point is that we need to pull some of the simplicity of that, right? We need to control time of possession. We need to let the defense get after it in spurts, not, gasping for air. Poor Calais can't. I don't think a human that big is supposed to exert himself that much. He was
exhausted. Yeah.
I mean, my gosh. And props, shout out to him for doing so. He showed out as much as he could and gave everything he could. But
let me say, because it seems like you're talking just to Lamar. How did they stop Pat Mahomes and that Andy Reid led offense?
That's what I'm saying. The only way to do, you can't. You got to keep him off the field. You can't. Yeah, you got to give up the ghost.
You got to hope for like 2 stops, is what you're saying.
Right, exactly. So you have enough big names in the defensive side of the ball where, you get a stop, and we did. We got a stop or 2 last night. We made him punt. We got a turnover. Yeah, exactly. So we had plays, but the issue was we didn't capitalize on offense, and they were on the field way too much. If we can keep them off the field,
and one other thing I think Wink has got to do. I know that our identity is man defense and coming after you, but in so many big moments, Pat Mahomes destroyed that man defense when we blitz. It was so easy. He would just, the crossing. Andy Reid called the best man beaters constantly in those situations. And then when he didn't have a receiver running wide open, the pass rush would vacate. And when you're running man, the eyes of the corners are on the receiver. So there's nobody watching the quarterback. And he's athletic enough. He might not be Lamar with his legs, but he's plenty athletic enough to scramble for a first down. So it just worries me that we would have to, or what Wink needs to do is kind of get away from, in those big moments, diversify a little bit, run a zone under, because you got guys going all this way, crossing this way, that way. It's hard as a man, like Chuck Clark, I saw, and his responsibility was to guard cover the back out of the backfield, and then they blitz the linebacker, trying to confuse Pat, but he had no chance of catching up to the running back coming from the right side of the field all the way to the left flat to catch the running back before he catches it. It's like, you got to switch it up, man. You got to run some short zones and go after them. You can't just stay in man coverage all day and expect that they're just all of a sudden going to start being able to cover them. It's too much misdirection. And that's another thing that it's got to be frustrating, man. Every single play before the snap, there was somebody moving in the backfield, running circles. First of all, I got to freshen up on the rules. I didn't know you could just run circles around the quarterback as it seemed like before the snap, there's just so much action in the backfield. You don't know where the ball, and then when the ball is snapped, there's a guy running a jet sweep. There's the running back, running a slant pattern, and then the receivers are all doing crossing routes, and they're all fast as hell. That's it's almost more daunting. I think that they could eventually, like you said, they commit to the run. If they get back to the base, they could score some points. But man, I don't know how they stop these guys, dude. I just don't. It seems like such an uphill battle.
Yeah. So I agree with you 100%. But for some reason, for me, it's less infuriating because at least he went down. Like, you need to make adjustments, but you go down with the ship and who you are. You let your guys do. You want your best players to match up against their best players, right? And if your guys feel like that they're up to the task, all right, well, let's line them up.
Do you think Tavon would have made a difference?
Oh, I think he would have made a huge difference. I mean, I think, we talked about this in the pregame. This is the game where, it's bad that Tavon went down, but man.
We talked about before the season. We said, well, at least Tavon will probably make it to game 3, right? Yeah.
That's a tough one, man. But at the end of the day, Tavon isn't going to win us this game.
He ain't coming back. Not this year.
Look, 90% of the reason we lost this game is on Greg Roman's shoulders. To me, personal opinion. The play calling
they looked dude, look at their offensive stats, dude. Outside of that fumble, what did we do? And that fumble, I mean, yeah, it was, but it wasn't. It was forced, but it wasn't like, you know what I mean. It's not like
you're talking about what did we do on defense
outside of that fumble. It's not like he jumped in, he jumped a route and got an interception. I mean, we saw.
But I just mean the offense has got to help the defense.
No, I 100% agree, but I feel like at least the offense had some points where you go, well, all right, they did something nice there. I didn't see anything out of the defense, dude. I didn't see anything. I saw that they perfectly, like that touchdown that they got on Elliott when he was manned up on Hardman. It was clear that they had safety help over top. It looked like that Peters was supposed to be over the top helping in that situation, and he bit on the route. It's just like they designed it perfectly against our personnel.
Look,
they ran a crossing route underneath to pull him down, knowing that he would try and bite for the interception, and then they ran that post behind him, and it was wide open.
So do you think that I saw Eric DeCosta on the sidelines. Do you think after that he was thinking about Earl Thomas and he was like, doing one of these, like,
I don't know so Earl wouldn't have been on. I mean, even if Earl was manned up.
If you took Earl and replaced Deshaun Elliott, do you think he
would have gotten cooked?
You think so on that double move? Well, because Deshaun got caught looking in the backfield.
He did, but he had the underneath responsibility. And actually, Peters should have been over top. But Peters saw that crossing route coming underneath, and he saw Ty Hill coming, and he went to go jump that, and that's why. And then
I just wonder what that outcome would have been with a future Hall of Famer back there instead of Deshaun Elliott.
It could have been. The call could have been totally different because I don't think either way manned up on Hardman.
No, you're not keeping up. I just wonder if he would have been more seasoned and said, all right, I know what's about to happen.
He could have seeded the underneath stuff and then just worried about over. But Deshaun's responsibility was manned up and Peters.
It was a bad game by Peters. He looked nonchalant and passive aggressive.
They were picking on him at points.
Yeah, he looked passive aggressive to me. You know what I'm saying? Like he didn't
frustrated at points. Yeah. Very frustrared. Yeah, not a good game. That's what I'm saying. Not a good game defensively, really anywhere you look. And that's what's really seems like the daunting task. Like, yeah, even if we go put up points, how can we stop them from putting up points?
And now if we play them, I mean, if things run their course, most likely we're going to Kansas City.
It looks like it. Yeah, and they're going to have fans. They're going to have fans. They have already. So even though it won't be a full capacity, they'll have fans. So
it is a tough Tuesday.
Yeah, not how we kind of envisioned it going. Not how a lot of did. I mean, a lot of pundits picked them. I mean, I think the whole TV broadcast crew picked them.
Yep.
On Monday night. So
Murphy's Law of Averages. We're going to get one, right? Like
we're due.
We're
due, but and I guess we were due to lose on a regular season game. Now, Kansas City's due to lose. My goodness, they've won a lot in a row when you include the playoffs.
Yeah, well, I'm not turning on any radio. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to turn on some radio today. But man, it was just a real tough one. Just a punch to the gut. But
we'll bounce back.
Yeah, we'll bounce back and we'll get you guys ready for the next game, the Washington football team.
That's right.
We're hopefully going to have some prep. We'll definitely have some prep shows. Hopefully have a guest on, get you guys up to date and up to speed, get the bad taste of this game out of your mouth. Hopefully this upcoming game will serve as some Listerine.
Yes.
For all of us.
Yes, we need it. Oof.
Oh my gosh. So,
but stay in there, keep watching, and look, don't worry, they'll look a lot better next week. And hit the subscribe button, give us a like, and we'll talk soon.